Hello everyone and welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Brooke Steach alongside Zach Gershman and Juan Mendez, and tonight we're bringing you a recap of the NCAA Women's Basketball Tournament. Pac-12's finest Stanford and Arizona survived and advanced their way to the national championship game. How would you describe each team's journey to get there?
The first thing I would say is congratulations to the Pac-12 because they proved throughout this tournament that they really can be, and that they are, in this case, the Conference of Champions. If there was one term I would use to describe Arizona's journey to the national title game, would have to be underdog. This team play with the underdog mentality. You saw Adia Barnes when they beat UConn, how animated she was, and she was asked to apologize for some of the stuff she did, and she didn't do that because she knows the type of team and journey that they've had to go through. But they manhandled almost every single team that they played. Their toughest match was in the round of 32 against BYU. But after that, they beat UConn in the Final Four, which is something that not many teams are ever able to do. And they beat them by 10 points. The last time UConn lost by more than 10 points was February 3rd, 2020. So already over a year ago. Arizona definitely earned their spot on the national spotlight, and they earned their spot in the championship game.
Definitely. Big news for the Pac-12, and just a huge game by Arizona taking that on UConn. That's a huge achievement. Now, on the other side, Stanford, they also had a fantastic run. But the thing that highlights this memorable run that they had to the championship is definitely the 87-day break that they had. They were on a road trip for 87 days, not being able to practice where they want, where they're used to, and everything completely different. Then add that to the bubble experience and the difficulties that they had with the facility, the training facility, and the viral videos that happened. So all that led to them being more united and stronger in unity, as a lot of them said in conferences after the game. But only that already motivated them to go at this game with all they had. But apart from that, just the coaching and the way they came at these games was also incredible. In the first 4 games in the tournament, their winning margin average was 24 points. So they were pedal to the metal, always coming at their opponents and always consistently putting up points and finding out new ways to do it with the squad they have, with Hayley Jones, for example, and Cameron Brink. So this team displayed a lot of toughness, and we'll talk about that later, but extremely good by Stanford and a great run coming onto this championship game.
It was definitely exciting to see Arizona knock out number 1 UConn with ease, and you can't skip over Stanford defeating number 1 South Carolina in a game that really came down to the final buzzer. Moving forward to the championship game, Stanford defeated Arizona 54-53 to win their first national title since 1992. Juan, what was the number 1 takeaway from this game?
The number 1 takeaway from this game, like I said, was the toughness and the way that they counterattacked Ari McDonald. So the way that they played, as you see in these pictures, is very physical. And the way they wanted to counter Ari McDonald was, as weird as it sounds, giving her the ball, because they had a game plan for her. Either putting up 2 zones against her and forcing her to take shots like you saw in the first quarter that she didn't want to take, forcing her to lower that percentage, take shots she just couldn't really make at that point. And the other thing they did, either forcing her to go in and attack some of the Stanford bigs, such as Cameron Brink, who was very active with 3 blocks in this game. So that was one of the main game plans that they had. The other thing was letting Hayley Jones take off on the second quarter, and the second half, I mean. And overall, just the Stanford team showing how veteran they are and how their young talent can also take over whenever they need. So this team, and also as Vanderveer said, they got more physical as the games went by. And they were ready for whoever was going to be thrown at them, specifically from this Arizona team.
Yeah, Tara Vanderveer was talking about how she was kind of surprised at the different lineup choices that Adia Barnes put out there on the court. And you mentioned they had Ari's house in the paint just so she couldn't get by. And whenever she did go by, especially in the first half, there was 3 bodies there that were stopping her from the get-go. And I mean, in the first half, they made Ari McDonald not play her game that she's accustomed to playing. I would honestly have to say, though, that the number 1 takeaway from me was the turnovers from Stanford. Arizona's defense was like pests there. They were just going all over. You see here, there was really no room that Stanford have, especially with the size difference that Stanford brings compared to Arizona. The defense, especially in the second half with 11 turnovers there, it's why the game was kept so close. Adia Barnes said after the game, if you read the stat line to her and excluded the turnovers part of it, she would have thought they lost by 30. So that's the number 1 thing I would have to say stands out to me in this game.
It wasn't the prettiest game of basketball ever played, but this was definitely a nail-biter in a battle that went down to the wire. That being said, Stanford's Hayley Jones was named the most outstanding player in the tournament, finishing with 17 points and 8 rebounds. On the Arizona side, Ari McDonald was the highest scorer in the game with 22 points, but ultimately ended up missing the game-winning shot at the horn. So Zach, how did these two ballers manage to put up award-winning performances?
How could you fault Aaron McDonald for missing that last second shot? I really thought that Adia Barnes should have called a timeout there. You had one timeout ready to go in your back pocket. When they already inbounded the ball, we saw that was going to be trouble for McDonald. She was not going to be able to get out of the corner. She ultimately somehow ended up getting out. But once you bring 3 defenders on her, she's not going to make any sort of shot. And the fact that it was close to begin with was even mind-boggling. But I would have to say for both of them, they let the game flow to them. In the beginning, Erin McDonald was forcing it. We talked about Ari's box. She was not able to play her game, but afterwards when she was able to create some separation through her dribbling skills, that is how she was able to still put up the team high and the game high in total points. And Hayley Jones, there was just no way that was able to guard her. Her presence in the box and in the paint, when she's able to bust right through to get through the paint, to get to the hoop, there was no way anybody on Arizona's defense was stopping her.
Absolutely. Going back a little bit on Ari, the way she played was incredible, especially when she turned it up in the second half. Now, you can see how the team shifted to play for her, giving her screens to take some threes to catch up to the margin that Stanford already created. And they did exactly that in the third. So they caught up with her in her threes, but she also was able to create some space on one-on-one situations. As you said, her movement, they couldn't catch up to her. She's too fast, the low center of gravity, her dribbling, all that is skills that she could definitely take to the WNBA once she goes. And on this side for Hayley Jones, like you said, she also really turned it up. 13 of her 17 points started in the end of the third quarter. They said give her the ball, let her take advantage, let her move around the box with the spin moves, and like you said, nobody was able to guard her. So she was able to carry that team and really lead them to this win. That's exactly what she did. They were already leading on rebounds and a lot of other factors in the game, but she was the closer, and she was the one that really gave them this win.
Furthermore, Stanford Cardinal Tara Vanderveer won her 3rd National Coach of the Year honor. She managed to lead the team to a Pac-12 regular season title and national championship. Do you see Stanford and Vanderveer possibly repeating this next year?
Now, this is a great question, and she did have a big drought, 29-year drought, but this was a huge achievement. And after watching the press conference, she's really motivated to keep on going and really celebrate this win, but also she's excited to see what they have in the future on this team. Now, they do have a lot of very interesting recruits. As Kiara Williams, for example, she's a veteran from the Stanford team that is leaving, so they need to find a replacement for her. And here we can see in this next graphic, they have 2 new recruits, for example, in Brooke Steach and Kiki Rifarin, who are 2 top 20 players players from high school. But they're also McDonald's All-Americans, and they're players that could really replace what they're missing on that team now, which makes me believe, as weird as it sounds, the team might be even better now that they have these 2 players, which is why I feel like this team right now, which was the champion, they could come back even stronger and do some work next year in the tournament.
Yeah, I do think that there's a possibility that they come back into the title picture, but I don't see it happening. The drought that Tara Vanderveer had is the only concern I have. Obviously, they're bringing in the new recruits that you mentioned, but because of that, all the other teams are also becoming more experienced, and they're also bringing in a lot more players and a lot more talent. I do think when it comes to Arizona, I do see them back in the picture, but I don't see them in the title game specifically, simply because Erin McDonald's going to be going to the WNBA draft. She had the chance to go last season, but she felt that she had some unfinished business at Arizona. She was so close to completing that story and making it happen. But I don't have much money, but I got $2 here, and they're both going on UConn winning the national title next year. There's no shot that with Paige Bueckers being a sophomore, going into her sophomore year, only winning the AP MVP of the season as a freshman. She's going to have another year of experience, another year with Gina Auriemma, and you can never count Gina Auriemma out. And that's why those $2, and if anyone else wants to put money on it and trust my betting advice, even though it's not the best, I would have to say that UConn's going to win the title next year.
With Vanderveer leading the squad again next year, I can definitely see Stanford going far in the tournament yet again. And that will do it for this edition of Penn State Sports Night. For Zach Gershman and Juan Mendez, I'm Brooke Steach. Thanks for watching and have a great night.
Thank you for watching this edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also, follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.